Afternoon. Look, I was asked a question this morning when I arrived and how we could add value and increase the payout for the sheep farmer. And I'm hoping that the last slide of this presentation will answer that question. But before we get there, I'd like to go through a little bit of history of the infant formula. Oops, sorry. Okay. Well, in the early 60s, infant formula was commercialised, and within 10 years, 75% of American infants were on infant formula, which is an incredible number, really. Fast forward to 2016, and Food Waikato were manufacturing their first infant formula sheep to China. Of significance in there is dairy goat. 25 years ago, they started, and now 2017, their value was 193 million in revenue, so maybe we can get there shortly. So what's in a recipe? We have milk, whey powder, which is where we're going to get to at the end of this. Fats, oils, carbohydrates, minerals and vitamins, which are the essential nutrients for the infant. It's important to realise that there's up to 50 individual components, and if we get one of them wrong, it becomes very costly. So where does it come from? The majority of the milk powders come from New Zealand. However, the whey powder, 100% for the goat and the sheep industry, is imported into this country. Fats and oils from New Zealand, carbohydrates, lactose from New Zealand, and the minerals and vitamins are generally imported. The whey protein and casein protein ratio needs to be adjusted to meet that of the human milk, and as we can see, the cow, goat and sheep are opposite in stage 1, and generally the human goes the other way. All right, so hence we need that whey protein added to the infant formula. It's a typical formulation from Food Waikato, and as you can see through the stages, they change for the infant. All right, so this brings to question, myself and Peter Hodman are putting together, thanks to MPI, regional business growth team at Food Waikato, and have allowed us to do a research on where we can add value to the sheep industry, and we believe that's in the whey and the manufacturing of whey in New Zealand, and also we'll look at the sheep cream industry as a second process. The project scope will look through from the farm all the way through to market and all those aspects in between. At present, we know that there's 13,500 milking goats outside dairy goat. That's based on 11 farms. It's important to look at the goat and the sheep industry as a total because we'll need scale eventually. And as we can see, there's a significant amount of milking sheep already in New Zealand, as most of us know today. So the regulations for canning plants was gone through earlier today, thanks to Gareth. And as we know, the CFDA set the guidelines for us to register our products in our plants, and thanks to Gareth, he talked about the 3 SKUs. But from this, we've noticed that there's a 13% rise in goat formulas and registrations, and that's based on his discussion earlier this morning. So it's pretty obvious that the sheep industry is going to go the same way. All right. We believe, looking at the 2019 figures, and this is a snapshot of who's currently manufacturing infant formula in New Zealand for goat and sheep, we believe that there's 3,155 metric tonne required, 400 metric tonne of WPC, that's $10 million of imported WPC coming into this country in 2019, and we expect a 10% growth, and that's without anybody joining the party at the moment. So what are our options for importing whey? So there's a few up there that we've noted, but there comes issues. So not all are quality suppliers like AVH. We obviously got a very high cost at $26 to $34 a kilo for whey powder, but we have other issues coming into the country as well. So Isaki, long lead times. So all of these are issues that our suppliers are giving us at the moment. China regulations state that we can use bovine and sheep and goat formulas, all right? So there's nothing stopping us from doing that, and we've got to understand that. It also states that if we use multiple species, we must label that on the can. The other major issue that we have is that the ash content for stages 1, which is 0 to 6 months, requires the ash level to be less than 5.5%, and the majority of imported whey powders don't achieve that. So it's a great opportunity for New Zealand to manufacture whey powder here in New Zealand under 5.5. It's easily controlled. As you can see from a lot of the different countries, thanks to Kirst for this slide, you can see that the regulations will change depending on where you're intending to send your product, and you must understand those regulations. We have two ways of making whey powder in New Zealand. One is from the whey cheese, and the other one is from casein. Now, the report will determine both aspects so the reader can understand for themselves which one they may prefer. There are benefits for both. So, where would it lead us? We reviewed the assumption at 2019, if we were to supply our own amount of whey powder, we'd need 20 farms, 750 per head. I calculate that at about 9.1 million per annum. Using a dryer the size of Food Waikato, that would give us 2 days a week on whole milk production, 1.5 days of WPC, 70 days of infant formula, 70 days of downtime, estimated turnover, 51 million per annum. That's how we can add value to us. Thank you.